If you're watching, I'm just flying some rockets. I created a new lander satellite probe thing. Rather than always sending Kerbal guys to the closest moon, I decided to, since I got all these science points, to create a very cheap lander craft that I can then take there and hopefully get back. This is the main stage, and what's left once you get into orbit. Actually, I've got a lot more fuel than I expected. Right now, just circularize burn so that way I can let the moon capture it, which is fun if you don't play the game. I don't know who might be watching. Another reason why I did probes is some of these spots look kind of treacherous. This is probably going to be not flat at all, and if I end up blowing up, I won't kill any astronauts. I'm trying to aim because last time I did a flyover that spot, and there was a looked like a small crater within a crater that had a flat spot. I'm just trying to hit the middle of that. Probably the only way I can get a good landing there. And all these different nodes are from the different contracts that I've got. Like this one is Gene's Incline, which I have to not be landed, but flying overhead about 7,000 meters to get a temperature reading. Woohoo. I'm going to let it do the high deorbit burn and then dump this stage, even though it's going to have a lot of fuel. But I just want to, so that way it'll crash into the moon and won't leave any floating debris in space that I might crash into later. Have a good night. I don't know how much of a delay there is for this, though, but yeah, have a good night. Okay, did that so that way, like I said, that other big piece will fall away, crash, and won't be in the way. Well, I can't really land with it anyway. It'll just crash into the moon, and yeah. Alright, here goes. I got that reading, so there's one more part done. Yeah. Basically, this is just an entire science package that I have. I have a air pressure thing on here, not that I really need it. I have the seismic, seismometer on here, thermometer. I only put 2 of the goo packages because of the fact that it balances the weight, and that's all on a, science bay. Now, it looks like I may have actually picked fairly well, because this is probably one of the few good landing areas. Well, that was kind of close. I actually thought it might tip over, which would have sucked. No, it's not really as flat as I thought it would be, but it's still flatter than, it's flat enough that it stayed upright. That's the good thing. Now to see if I can get this package, science package back. I'll put it back into an orbit. Yeah. And that marker over there is one of the spots I landed previously. Thought I landed in Gene's Incline once before, but apparently I did not. But picking that spot did work out fairly well for me. And yeah, you can see that's, quite a ways away. Now, to save fuel, the best way to get back to Kerbin is to just on the inside of the Mun orbit, well, to Kerbin, create a node, and you actually want to accelerate. You gotta be careful because technically that means you're decelerating on your burn, like your orbit, because you're basically using, because you're going the same speed around Kerbin as the moon, so you don't want to burn too much or you end up yeah. And I like putting it at about 47 kilometers, so that way you're in the upper atmosphere. It'll start slowing you down and drag in. As long as you can complete the burn, you should be able to, no matter what, eventually land on the planet without having to worry too much. Now I do have another probe that is situated around Mun right now. I was testing out how quick I could launch them. Since these were cheap enough, they only cost $44,000. And I've got millions right now, so 44,000 I could easily launch 2, 3 at a time. But also, as you can see, I have an alarm list here. I've got 2 things coming up one thing coming up real soon. The other one's not so much. 152 days. And this one is a exit orbit out of Kerbin space. I'm looking to go to Duna with a satellite. It's basically one of these very earlier satellite probes that I'm trying to get to Duna. But rather than boost time until it gets, there, I'm doing all the other stuff. Because like any kind of space program, you would be, having to launch multiple rockets and yeah. NASA does not wait for things to get from one place to the next. They have programs that they have to launch this, that, and the other. Sure, my launches are much more quicker compared to, say, NASA, because I think they have an average about a 1 or 2 a month. I'd say probably close to 1 a month at most. And maybe I could be wrong, but there's other launch facilities I know, and so it's just the whole. Yeah, I think it's about one a month or so, and if you got to think about how long it takes for things to travel, like let's say they were sending when they sent the rovers to Mars, they didn't obviously wait till they got there before they launched anything else. They still had to send up supplies to the ISS. Okay, since this one is now, on its way, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to this probe. I called, yeah. I guess I should have named it MP. Because it's I put DP because I was thinking Duna probe, and it's not going to Duna. This is just a Mun probe. Now, this one is in a much higher orbit. I'm going to actually reduce the orbit first because of, well, I don't like having such a high orbit when starting a burn for landing. Also, you can get a better view, an idea of what you're going to try to land if you're closer to the planet. Of course, with Mun, you can get down really close without having to worry because there is no atmosphere that you'll be hitting that would slow you down. Again, I'm going to keep this rocket on until I get to the deceleration burn, so that way once the orbit is decayed enough that it will just crash into the moon, I will drop it. These probes are very basic. I didn't put any solar panels on there that extend out away from it. They're all just right around. Did that because they're fairly cheap and the rocket will get at least some sunlight at some point on the sides, so wasn't a huge deal. Plus with the batteries I put on it, it's not gonna die anytime soon. Now, I do have the bigger lander legs. I just chose not to use them because for this rocket, it doesn't need anything more than these tiny little lander legs.